Simsbury School News. My name is Dominique Avery, and I'm delighted to welcome you back to this show on the Simsbury School System, a show designed to take a peek behind the scenes to help you get to know more about our schools. We're taping this at the beginning of August. While it may still feel like the middle of summer, the school system is already deep in preparations for the new school year. Today, we're pleased to be able to host two of the system's newest administrators, the new principal of Central School, Beth Hennessy, and the new principal of Latimer Lane, Michael Luzetti. Although they are new administrators in our system, neither one of them is new to Simsbury. I'm going to start with you, Beth. Tell me a little bit about what your experience has been in Simsbury up till now, and then where you came from before.
Sure. Well, I came from Farmington, working in Farmington as a resource teacher, and was in Farmington for 11 years. And this is my beginning my 8th year in Simsbury. I came to Squadron Line School as a language arts consultant and was fortunate to work with Matt Curtis, the current superintendent. He was my principal at the time. And after 5 years at Squadron Line, I transferred to Central School as a language arts consultant as well, and just completed my 2nd year as the language arts consultant, and am now moving into the principalship.
So I realized that before, but even now it occurs to me, is that going to be a difficult step to start from language arts in the same school where you're going to be principal?
I think I have a great benefit because I know the staff and I know many of the parents already, and I almost know every child's name. So I really feel that the 2 years that I've been there as language arts consultant, I've already been able to form relationships with many of the parents and all of the staff, and I'm continuing to reach out to the community now.
So I want to get back to you, but I want to turn now to Michael and ask a little bit the same thing. Where were you before, and what's your experience in Simsbury? What has been your experience in Simsbury?
All right, so I was hired in Simsbury as a health and physical education teacher almost 14 years ago at this point. I came in as a long-term substitute at Squadron Line, did a few years at Squadron, a few years at Terrafil, and ultimately wound up at Tooten Hills for the last 7 years that I was in town, working under Ron Peralt. And you know, through that situation, he really encouraged me to pursue the administrative degree. I was fortunate enough to complete that, and after a few years of searching for that perfect opportunity, I wound up going to New Hartford, right up the road. I spent 2 years there as a principal of 2 primary buildings, both K to 2, and at the end of that 2nd year, the position, the opportunity to come back to Simsbury arose, and it's just one of those opportunities that you really can't pass up. To join the administrative team, to step back into a district with such supportive parents and such hardworking kids, and to just really join that fantastic administrative team.
So I was going to, maybe I'll pursue it anyway. I sort of thought when I read a little bit about your biography that seemed like a little bit of an odd sort of career path, starting from health and phys ed to administration. So, and you said Ron Peralt encouraged you. So, how did that actually work?
It was a fairly large jump from teaching K to 6 PE to being a building leader. Fortunately, during my last 2 years at Tooten, they had opened up a position, a building coordinator position, and that Ron had really pushed me to pursue. It allowed me to take over, a lot of the scheduling, some of the disciplinary pieces, really everything up to the teacher evaluation component. So I had a lot of those sort of pseudo-administrative experiences that I wouldn't normally have gotten in a regular classroom position. The teachers at Tooten were fantastic as I was going through my degree. That they would welcome me into their classes to do mock observations on them, to sit in with Ron as he did observations. So I really got to learn the position almost sort of as an extended internship. And so stepping into sort of jumping the assistant principal position and going right to the leading a school was a big jump. But because of those experiences, I felt like I was really prepared for it, and the transition went fairly well, and I'm excited to see how it goes here as well.
I'm sure the parents are curious too, and welcome you to your new position. So, what made you, Beth, decide to go from teaching or language arts support to administration?
My teaching career began with a real strong interest and passion for reading and writing. And I always had my kind of hand in some of the building level work or district level work that was happening in the area of reading and writing. And after going back to the University of Connecticut to get certified as a language arts consultant, it kind of opened my eyes to kind of the vision and thinking of system-wide implementation of curriculum and instruction. And from there, I was fortunate to be able to work in Simsbury, and we have a strong relationship with Teachers College out of Columbia University, and that really honed my skills as a curriculum person working with teachers in the classroom. So it kind of opened my eyes beyond the classroom into a bigger vision of school-wide initiatives and district-wide initiatives. From there, pursuing my administrative degree at Sacred Heart University, again, gave me that step back to kind of see the big picture and realize that the knowledge and skills that I've been gaining through the different degrees I've been able to pursue gave me that vision to kind of look at a whole school and say what I've learned at this point could help me move a school in a direction, especially with all the educational reform going on right now.
So you both touched on this you both talked a little bit about evaluation, and that has been, I saw that you were involved in the evaluation, changing the evaluation process, and that has been sort of a headline in Connecticut, how teachers are evaluated, how new teachers are supported. It's been actually quite controversial. So talk a little bit about how evaluation is done in Simsbury, how it's different than it was, and how you support new teachers and experienced teachers.
Probably about 8 years ago now, we got together, Diane Ullman was able to get a group of people together across the district to come together to say, who are we in Simsbury? What are our vision? What are our core beliefs? And we were able to set our own Simsbury teaching standards, our homegrown, this is who we are in Simsbury. And that is those standards are what we use to create our own evaluation model just a couple of years ago. So it really feels very personal to us, and a real big emphasis on the collaboration that we have in this district and the expectation to work together. So our evaluation system, we've adopted the guidelines from the state of Connecticut, but we've really used what we believe are best practices here in Simsbury to create our evaluation system. So that was not new to teachers. We've always had an evaluation system, and those pieces felt very comfortable to teachers because it was really who we are. It represented us here in Simsbury. So we've just gone through the first year of adopting that evaluation model, and thankfully the district has allowed us to have multiple hours of professional development during the school year at all the schools to slowly implement the model. So teachers have a full understanding of each component of it, that we've taken them through every step of the way and really supported teachers' understanding of the model in order to implement it successfully.
How do you, you weren't participating in the whole process, or were you?
Not here, but coming from New Hartford, largely we accepted the seed model that the state handed out, and as a result, teachers absolutely went with it. They dove into it full on, but the sense of ownership I think that you have in Simsbury, because it was homegrown, because it was developed, and because it was developed prior to the state saying you had to do it, much like the Common Core, there was a little bit less of a reaction to it. It was sort of okay, this is largely what we're doing. Yes, maybe the format is a little bit different. Yes, maybe the attaching of a title, if you will, of proficiency or accomplished or whatever it was, that piece is a little bit overwhelming, a little bit intimidating. But high quality evaluation and high quality teacher work at getting better in our practice is something that's been going on here for the last 20 years. It's a district that's always used data to quantify whether or not our kids are making growth. So that component of it, I think is largely the sort of the scary piece of it, if you will. But we've always looked at where are our kids, and we've always set goals of we have X number of kids here. Let's see how many more kids we can get to there.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point. Before we started taping, I think I also talked about how I noticed with the testing that my daughter, when she was in fourth grade, did not do well, that the tests were used to attack her skill levels and help her. It wasn't judging her or judging the teacher, it was helping the child, and that seems to be what I think makes Simsbury such a good school system.
I would agree.
Yeah, it's really whether it was the Connecticut Mastery Assessment or now the Smarter Balanced Assessment, it's a one snapshot in time. And we really rely on our formative and summative assessments that we use daily in the classroom and at different marking points throughout the year to inform us on the way. So the assessment can seem overwhelming and a little bit scary at times, but it really is a snapshot in time that gives the district information about our priorities and where we need to refine our practices.
It's interesting that the evaluation is based on a system that was developed in New Haven, that developed out of a coalition of teachers and the superintendent, and that was taken by the state and then made sort of statewide. It sounds to me like they could have taken your system as well, and that's why the teachers were not quite as anxious as some of the other teachers.
Yeah, thanks to Matt Curtis and Aaron Murray and Sue Lemke, they really were able to take our current existing model and adopt the state guidelines and make it fit Simsbury and who we are.
Interesting. So I mentioned at the beginning that we're starting a new school year. I think school starts officially on August 27th. Is that the day it starts?
Yes.
I think that a lot of times parents and kids think, oh, well, teachers and administrators have the summer off. What do administrators do to prepare for the school year? I know you don't have the summer off because I had a hard time scheduling you for this.
Particularly for the two of us who are new, the initial piece was diving into the data, seeing what the last year looked like, and not just last year, but the last 2 or 3 years. So we can sort of, it's a long process to close out 1 year and assess where everybody is, and then, no sooner does that finish than we start looking at what those numbers are going to tell us about what our practices are going to be for next year. Getting together with other administrators, getting together with our teachers, working with our custodians and secretaries to make sure the physical plan is ready. But the bulk of the work really is laying out those goals and laying out those targets for the year to come, meeting with the superintendent and the assistant superintendents to identify the focus and identify how we're going to improve the quality of our professional learning communities, teacher collaboration, how we're going to use all the data from this year to set targets for next year, and what we're going to put in place to make sure that we continue to push the learning forward for our kids. So there really is never an off season.
We operate on a cycle of continuous improvement, and Matt Curtis laid the direction at a administrative retreat that we had a few weeks ago, and that really is how we anchor, as Mike said, how we anchor our work throughout the year. So we have benchmarks throughout the year that we use to make sure we're on the right track. And we use, it's certainly student assessment data, but we collect feedback from teachers and we collect feedback from parents. And all of those pieces come together to help us drive our initiatives for the school year.
So how are you preparing for the children? I've seen on a couple of Facebook boards that there are already parents who are thinking about what their children need to buy to be ready for the first day, and they're anxious about kindergarten. Parents are anxious about what's happening. So what's going to happen at both your schools?
Well, Mike and I, coming on new, we got together probably in April or May and decided to kind of do a lot of collaboration together. So one of the things that we've been doing just to kind of welcome families and get to know kindergartners as well as the whole community is we've been hosting popsicles with the principal. So we've had a couple events. You've had an event in July, and we're having
another one this coming Friday the 8th.
And I have one on August 13th. So that's one way to kind of welcome in and kind of meet the kids before school starts.
So how are you letting the school community know about those things?
They're going out on listservs. Through our listservs, we're encouraging parents to sign up through listservs.
Yeah, we both sent out letters to families our essentially first couple of days on the job, kind of outline some opportunities for the summer. We've also had a kindergarten ice cream social at Latimer. Trying to think, I've probably, ongoing parent meetings as people have been calling in to meet with us, just to sit down and really just to get FaceTime. To listen to what parents have to say about our schools, to meet with kids at every opportunity, to not be the face on the first day where people aren't sure who you are. You want the kids to come in that first day and go, oh, I know that person, that's the principal. I've seen them this summer, I've seen them here, I've seen them at the park, I've seen them somewhere. And to really to instill that confidence in parents that, that there's not an unknown on that first day of school.
We also both host a meet and greet for our kindergarten families on Monday I believe Monday the 25th. We'll have all the kindergarten families and children come in, so we'll get to see them there as well.
Okay, so any kindergarten parents who watch this, for both your schools, are all the schools doing it on the same day, or is each school different?
I think typically it's all done on that first Monday.
On the first Monday, the 25th?
25th, yeah. And the kindergartners get to then have a short little bus ride and see how that feels to them as well.
So at both your schools, are parents going to see something, parents and children, going to see something different this year? Or you sort of you've been there a long time, but how?
I think largely, my plan is to step in and to kind of allow the systems and the structures that are in place to start the year off. I've had conversations with PTO and with staff and, to a lesser extent with kids about, what are the things that they love most about the school? What are the things that they absolutely would never want changed? And sort of leave those things, and then identify areas that they'd like to see some changes and some improvements in, and then to slowly collaborate with staff, with parents, to make sure that it's not someone new coming in with all these grand ideas and flipping things upside down. Latimer's, it's a fantastic place. There's so many things that are going on right there. It's not a system that's broken, and I want to respect everything that they've put in place, everything that everybody has worked really hard to establish there. And then to, like I said, identify things that parents and teachers want to see changed and slowly move through some of those things together. But the first day will look, maybe a little different parent drop-off or bike route, but, things are going to look largely the same to start the year.
And at Central?
Same thing at Central, yeah. Just being able to be there for the past 2 years certainly allows me to understand kind of the traditions and routines that will be in place when students arrive back. We just celebrated our 100th year
I was going to just ask you
Were
about
you?
that.
Yeah. So we just had this wonderful celebration, a year-long celebration under the former principal Edie Balkin's direction. So we had a wonderful celebration, and we have 100 years to kind of rely on. And we have same thing, really great routines and great traditions in place that we're going to continue to kind of grow the next 100 years.
And you have the advantage of having been there. So that you know it's probably going to be just a little bit harder for you. Let me go back to your experience as a phys ed, health and phys ed teacher. Sort of one of the issues that has been in the news a lot is this sort of focus on the test and reading and writing, and in a lot of places phys ed has disappeared. So I'm sure you thought a lot about that and you have opinions. So maybe you can share, and then you can also talk about what happens at Central.
Simsbury is very fortunate in that it really honors the essentials, the art, the music, and the PE, and that our kids have it, I would say, far more frequently than the majority of districts around. They have it every 3 days for 40 minutes. When I started, it was once a week for an hour, and then, and it was a Monday through Friday schedule, so your kids that had it on Monday could theoretically have it once in the first 5 or 6 weeks of school. We've put a priority on our kids being healthy and believing that a healthy lifestyle, will help to produce a smart student. It's not enough that our kids are really intelligent, because they are, but they need, we're helping to equip them with, with the ability to make healthy decisions. Starting from the time they're in kindergarten, valuing activity, valuing healthy choices, and how those choices affect every single thing that they do from that day forward. I was blessed when I was a kid that I had fantastic PE teachers, which is why I went into the field. I wasn't a particularly strong student, and I was not an athlete by any means, but I had teachers who expressed a willingness to help me get to that point, to help me to grow as a learner, to help me grow as a physical kid. And like I said, that's why I fell in love with education. So I feel like the arts and physical education plays such a key role in helping us to produce good, smart, well-rounded kids.
It's the reason many of them get up in the morning, because they have that violin lesson that day, or they're going to have PE, or they're going to have art. And it's one of the hooks that we have to kind of keep using to keep kids motivated and encouraged to come to school.
So let me ask you to put on your sort of philosophy or historical hats a little bit. So why has there been this drive away from that kind of stuff in school systems where their scores are low? Why are they doing that?
Because it's not tied to funding. Funding is all tied to academic scores. It's all about student achievement.
But how can they achieve unless they're well-rounded and I mean, they can't sit in class drill all day long, or if they do, it doesn't enter their brains as well, I think.
I think it's a fantastic question. I'm not sure I have a great answer for you.
Yeah,
Beth, have you thought about it?
Well, we're fortunate in Simsbury that we're able to have a well-rounded curriculum for all students, and that we don't have a lot of those challenges that other schools do have.
So what actually happens in PE in the elementary school? What kind of things are going on there now?
There's a lot of really, exposing kids to as many different things, starting from the kindergarten level with, open space and body control. And body control really extends beyond the physical education realm. It permeates into everything they do in the classroom and their ability to interact. There's a lot of team building activities that they do through the PE program K through 11. Getting you to, the character building piece, getting you to work together collaboratively. Those are skills that don't just affect PE. They don't just affect, the soccer field or the basketball field. Those are things that are going to affect you in life. Those are things that are going to affect you in group projects in the classroom. It's a lifelong skill. People need to be able to work together. They need to be able to collaborate. They need to be able to function as part of a group, as part of a team.
So that sort of starts in kindergarten. What happens in first, second? What kind of things?
In first grade, we do a lot of sort of athletic concepts. Running, throwing, kicking, striking, things that will allow them to open up a myriad of opportunities. We've started to do more lifelong fitness units, things like running. We have phenomenally successful running clubs at all of the elementaries, which has now moved into the middle school. They've started doing golf and tennis type programs at the primary, at the elementary level. These are activities that kids can do for their entire lives, not just largely if you play soccer, when you graduate, you don't play soccer anymore. But we have if you have a running club, if you have a golf program, if you have a tennis program, these are things that you can do to stay active for your entire life. And active people live happier, longer lives. They're more they're better citizens. There's just these rewards that keep on giving as a result. And we have a fairly well articulated program K through 11 in PE.
So and there's also in the high school now there's a bicycle club, and then there's been a lot of Simsbury bicycle friendly community,
Yes.
and your school especially, and your school. Well, your school has sidewalks. I'm not sure Latimer does.
And yet we have a lot of our kids who do bike and walk to school. When we do the bike to school today, the walk to school day, it's a phenomenally successful program. We would love to be able to connect our school to the bike path. It's about 100 yards away. Unfortunately, Latimer Lane is a relatively busy road.
Right.
But even with that, with the neighborhoods around the school, we've got a lot of kids who walk and bike every single day. And one of the reasons that we have a successful bike program within our PE curriculum.
Yeah, it's one of the things that makes Central a place where our sidewalks is easy to walk to.
Yeah, it is nice. We have a lot of walkers, which is nice, and it's kind of in the center of a real community school. So we do get a lot of bikers. You can bike to school with your parents' permission if you're in 4th, 5th, or 6th grade, and we'd love to kind of hook into the biking to school event that Squadron Line was able to do this year as well.
Right. So as a former school teacher and a parent, I know the beginning of the school year is so important for children and teachers and administrators, and parents and children get really excited. Do you share that excitement? Do you also get excited?
It's at the point where, we're 5 weeks into, we just need the kids.
We need the kids to
just
come.
need the kids.
We really do. Yeah, it's getting
are
lonely
we ready to start? Nope. Are there 1,000 things we have to do? Yes, but just bring us the kids.
The energy of the kids will get us, will move us through these next 3 weeks.
Okay, so we are almost out of time. We have a few minutes, and about this time of the show, I like to give our viewers a chance to get to learn a little something personal about you, where you live, do you have a family? Michael, can we start with you?
Absolutely. I live up in Terriffill. We've been there for 7 years with my wife, Debbie, who was a first grade and kindergarten teacher at Squadron when we first met. We have a 3rd grade daughter, Sophia, who will be at Terriffill this year, and we have a 3-year-old, Abigail, who's going to be going to preschool at Masters this year. We love living in this community. We moved to this community as a result of the experiences that we both had as teachers here, and that when we realized, where do we want to raise our kids, there was no question. It was just a matter of where in town we could find. We're in a nice, tight little neighborhood up in Terriffill where everybody knows each other, and it's been great. I coach my daughter's lacrosse team and soccer team, and it's really been a wonderful 7 years we've been here.
That's a great advertisement for the town of
Yes,
Simsbury.
it is.
So, and you're not originally from Connecticut. I know you grew up in Farmington. I didn't get to that, but
Yeah,
where are you
I grew
from?
up in Northampton, Massachusetts, not far away, and I've been in Connecticut now 20 years, and I live in Windsor, and a lot of my hobbies include being outside and having that healthy lifestyle that Mike talked about. I love to garden, and I love to bike, and I like to travel as well.
Do you have a family?
I have my mom and dad are 2 miles away from me, and I have a sister who's in Boston.
Aha, my daughter lives in Boston. So thank you both for coming in. The time went very quickly.
It did.
I'd like to thank everyone here at SCTV behind the scenes for their help in getting the show on the air. And thanks especially to my guests, Beth Hennessy and Michael Luzetti. I hope everyone has a wonderful school year, all your kids, and good luck in your new jobs. And finally, thank you for joining us. If you missed any portion of the show, you can find it on our website at simsburytv.org. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, where you can get updates on new shows as they get posted online. I'm Dominique Avery. See you next time for the Simsbury School News.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.